Representative Prayapal is the first South Asian American woman elected to the U.S. House of Representatives and is the chair of the Integrated Task Force for the Congressional Caucus, and is a vice chair of the Congressional LGBT Equality Caucus and is the co-chair of the Transgender Equality Task Force. She also serves as a ranking member of the Subcommittee on Immigration and Security, and Enforcement.
Hey everybody, thank you so much to Sunrise and to Free DC and to all of you for being here. I am an organizer first and foremost. I just happen to be doing it in Congress now after 20 years outside, and I'm a Hoya. When I was a senior at Georgetown right here in Copley, and I used to look out at the square and be a part of the protests here, and it makes me so happy to see you all here because the previous speaker is absolutely right. This is an unprecedented moment in our country where we have an authoritarian leader who is deploying federal troops to Washington, D.C., to cities across the country, militarizing our streets, kidnapping people on the streets, immigrants, people who look Latino and speak Spanish are now being given free rein to be kidnapped from Home Depot corners across the country. And the only bulwark that we have is the people. And so what you are doing here today is so important because at the end of the day, the checks and balances that were supposed to be built into our Constitution so that we could protect our constitutional rights are not working right now. Because when you have a majority party in Congress who refuses to actually hold a president, an authoritarian president, accountable, when you have a Supreme Court that is stacked with corrupt justices who take luxury RVs and trips from donors who come before the Supreme Court, then literally the only check and balance is you. So yes, you are taking a risk today by being here, by walking out with students across DC to say we are going to protect our rights. And what an incredible show of power, people's power it has been this last weekend to see thousands of people on the streets of DC, to see people fighting back against the narrative that we are powerless. We are not powerless. The people have the power. The power doesn't flow from the top down, it flows from the bottom up. And that means that when we withhold our power, when we withhold our willingness to go along with what the authoritarian leader is doing, that is when the people's power wins. They can't win without our support. So don't forget that every single movement, every single event, every single walkout, every single protest, every single act of non-cooperation is part of what it takes to build the people's movement. And you are here today because you believe in a different future than what we have right now. You believe in a future where billionaires don't control the wealth of our planet. You believe in a future where we have a planet to pass on to our people. You believe in a future where working people can earn a decent wage and send their kids to colleges like the one that you're going to today. You believe in a future where there is genuine equality and justice for everyone, no matter what race you are, no matter what gender you identify with, no matter who you are or where you come from. That is the country that we are fighting for today, and I am so proud that you are here doing it with us. Thank you all so much. Check out my Resistance Lab. It's resistancelab.us. 2-hour virtual training on the most effective tactics to increase the ability to take risks. Because that is what it takes. In countries around the world, it only happens if you overthrow authoritarian leaders when the people fight back and when the people really put themselves on the line. So check it out. We are so happy to be here. Thank you, Sunrise. Thank you, Free DC, for the amazing work that you are doing. And thank you all for walking out and for showing that the people's power will always win. So say it with me, Free DC!
Free DC!
Free DC!
Free DC!
The students, united,
Will never be divided. The students, united, will never be divided.
Thank you all so much, and keep at it. We need you.
Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit? Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit? Hey, DU, can you hear it? Can you hear our mighty spirit?
Awesome. Up next is Massachusetts Senator Markey. He is on the Committee on Health, Education, Labor and Pensions, and Environment and Public Works. Markey is a pioneer for climate justice and clean energy in the Senate and was the Senate author of the Green New Deal and has been a champion of progressive causes supporting gun control, single-payer health care, and affordable housing.
Beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you all. So, D.C. is under assault. When the Capitol was under assault on January 6th, Trump refused to send in troops to protect against this attempt for the usurpation of democracy, of the election of the President of the United States. He allowed for that assault to take place on the Capitol with no troops being sent in. But now, here in D.C., the President is attempting to create an impression that the crime rate is going up rather than down, that there is, in fact, a crisis here in the District of Columbia. And what he is doing is attempting, not just here in D.C., but in Chicago, in L.A., in Boston, is to try to characterize communities that are majority minority, that are majority black and brown, as being unsafe to live. And it's not a coincidence that he's picking all of these cities that are black and brown majority. It is to scare America. You cannot make America great again by making America hate again. That is what Trump is seeking to do. And what we have to do is to make sure that we stand up to him. And these governors who are sending their National Guard troops here to D.C. at a cost of $1 million a day, they should be protecting Medicaid and SNAP and educational opportunities for young people back in their own home states rather than participating in this charade that Donald Trump is creating here in the District of Columbia. This is not about policing. This is about political theater because Trump's political rating is going down because he knows that he is vulnerable. And he's just going back to his old standard play, which is racism, which is trying to play to the worst fears that he can instill in people across our country. That is what is at stake right now. And so we have to stand up. 250 years ago, the American Revolution began in Lexington and Concord. They stood up against King George, those Minutemen and women. They were knocked down, but they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And the abolitionist movement, we know that Georgetown is still reckoning with its own history with slavery. Those abolitionists, they were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up. They fought. They won. The suffragette movement, they were knocked down. They were not knocked out. They got up. They fought. They won. The same-sex marriage movement, they were knocked down. But they were not knocked out. They got up. They fought. They won. And the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King Jr., they were knocked down. but they were not knocked out. They got up, they fought, and they won. And that's where we are today. It's led by the young leaders in our nation, standing up and fighting. And yes, people are being knocked down, but they are not knocked out. They're going to get up, they're going to fight, and we're going to win. We're going to beat God.